as well.
And the transcription will probably be very fun to read afterwards. So there we go. That's running. I'll go back to the slides. So we have that in order. I hope we can post the video recording of the meeting online on the Alteryx site. I've seen other user groups have had that. And then we hope during the meeting, engage with us, use the chat box, unmute yourself, comment, laugh and cry. Turn your camera on if you haven't already. I think most people have. So we'll try and make this as interactive as possible. Yeah. So the user group meeting. So this is something, the first time that we're doing it in the Nordics. Initiative was from Carolina/Alteryx. They told us that we, the participants, are in full control about what this is going to be about. What is the theme? Things we want to discuss is completely up to us. Alteryx has provided logistical support in bringing us together on their site. And they also host a number of different resources, slide templates and things like that, which we can use. We need to have 2 of these meetings quarterly to be recognized as an official Alteryx user group. And when that happens, then we will be visible on the Alteryx website under the user group area. Right now, we are not visible because we need to prove that we are actually serious and that we can pull this off and do it twice in half a year. So obviously, that's the main ambition right now. Yeah, so let's continue and talk a little bit about who's doing this. So Johan, would you like to present yourself?
Let me start. My name is Johan, and I have been working at NKT Photonics for a little over a year now. And before that, I was a consultant with Inviso, which is now known as Devoteam, for those of you who are familiar with that. To put it shortly, the day-to-day work for my role at least is anything related to the data that we have in terms of dynamics. It could be production, it could be inventory. And we do almost everything within Alteryx. And you can argue that some of the things that we currently do might be better off in other tools, which is something that we also be discussing on these kinds of meetings. But we're also utilizing all the strengths from Alteryx. I mean, everybody's bought into the idea of Alteryx. That's why we're here. Other than that, I have 2.5 years experience working with Alteryx. I'd say that pretty much sums it up. Almost 3 years, and I'm certified as well. Only advanced though. I haven't had the chance to do the expert one yet, but we'll see. So that's a little bit about myself, and I'm 27. For those of you wondering, just to put a little bit of personal in there.
Thanks, Johan. On to yours.
I'm a bit older, I'm working in the Pigwind. Have been working for the last 7 years with Alteryx, and the last 3.5 years in Pigwind. Prior also in Ørsted. What I do with Alteryx is sort of product development. I make new deliveries. I use Tableau as well. So the deliveries is a combination of things I do in Alteryx and Tableau. So it's from the raw data from a lot of different sources, both sources getting updated automatically, but also some which are in Excel sheets and a lot of other different places too. What I do in Alteryx, I then merge them and sort of deliver them into sort of data set which I can use in Tableau to make the final delivery, which can be a monthly, weekly, or daily report or dashboards. I have worked prior with a SAS Institute for more than 20 years, and when I then met or tried out with Alteryx, it was suddenly going from a good car to a Formula One. I'm absolutely stunned about Alteryx. It's like it's sitting in my fingers. It's a fantastic program. What can I say? I sit in Aarhus. I have experience from several other sectors, shipping, telecommunication. I've been doing more or less the same all my life, all my work life, and during the years, sort of getting more and more fancy titles, but content is exactly the same. It's sort of translating data to knowledge or insights. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I'm Michael. When I looked up my title today, it said Senior Data Engineer. I thought I was a Senior Data Analyst, but apparently I'm an engineer. I've been with NKT Photonics since 2007, jumping between several different roles in production and finance, and now I'm in R&D. And I've been working with Alteryx since 2018. And I was a happy data person before that, doing all sorts of stuff in Excel and Visual Basic, and had great success with that. But like Jos, when I was introduced to Alteryx, it was really, really transformative, a very powerful thing. And now it's like if my company told me that we're going to take Alteryx away from you and give you something else, I would be extremely unhappy. Unless it has to be really, really, really good, right? Who knows? But I would certainly be unhappy. Many of the things that you described, Jos, taking data from all different kinds of sources and cleaning them up and transforming them and making them available to users within the company is also what I do. In addition to that, I also work with trying to teach our lasers to know when they're going to be sick before the customer finds out. And I'll tell you more about that at some other time. I think it's enough about me right now.
And then we have Flavia.
Flavia, yes, newly arrived manager for this group on behalf of Alteryx.
Yes.
I think she's a little bit busy right now, so she couldn't participate today. Maybe next time. So we don't know so much about Flavia yet. We only met her a couple of days ago.
Yeah. So we have that until next time.
Yep. Have you met Flavia, Carolina?
I haven't had a pleasure to meet her in person yet, but we have spoken, well, like this when
new
planning the user group.
Is she new in Alteryx, or has she been with Alteryx for a long time?
That's a great question. I honestly don't know.
Okay. Okay.
We'll find out.
We'll find out later.
Yes.
Okay, enough about us. We thought that it would be good to go a little bit around the virtual table here and hear who you guys are. I was hoping that we could get your name, your location, your company, and your role, but feel free to add more things to that list as you feel. So I don't know how quite to go around in the order. So just grab the mic when you have the chance, and then we'll go through everyone.
And I just added Alex as well.
Yes.
Okay, we have a new arrival. Perfect. Welcome, Alex. I hope you can hear us and see the presentation clearly.
Silence is always a good thing.
We cannot hear you yet. Because it says that Alex is muted. It says you're muted, right?
I think it's the default when you get in, so maybe just give him a little time.
Yeah.
All right, but if anybody's
anyone else can present themselves?
Can start. I'm in the room.
Yep.
So my name is Rasmus and been working with Alteryx for 6 years, I think now, through Inviso and then Demo Team. Actually, a little bit before that as well. I found Alteryx and I joined Inviso because I thought it was such a great tool. I just wanted to work with it full time. Demo Team, a consultancy. I think we are the largest Alteryx consultancy in Denmark and probably maybe in the Nordics as well. I don't know. Alteryx will probably be able to tell you. But obviously working with a lot of different clients, and the best one being NKTP, obviously. Been working with you guys. You said 2018, right? So that's probably 18 or 19 that I also was part of the journey here.
Yeah.
And your job is at sales or what?
My job is as a consultant, and you
it was
could
a
say
joke.
sales.
It
I
was
used
a
to be a
joke.
pretty good salesperson, right? Yeah. I am selling these guys Alteryx licenses, so that's one thing, right?
Yeah.
But also doing a lot of analytics, anything that has anything with hardcore data modeling, I love. So
A great mind.
Yeah.
thanks for having.
Anybody else up for grabs?
I can go on to mix a little bit. So I'm Alex. I'm from Alteryx. I'm the manager of Carolina. So I basically am responsible for the whole region of the Nordics and the CE region for most of our accounts. We have also a strategic business, of course. So I'm in for the enterprise business, which covers like 80% of the territory. Yeah. So basically that's me. And I might be also the only one who's not in the Nordics because I'm German. Yeah. I'm sitting here in Düsseldorf region. And I'm also quite newer than most of you are to Alteryx because I joined last year in December. So, and yeah, covering that region from a sales perspective, but of course, always open for anything interesting about the product and so on. I've worked for Cisco before for 5 years. I've worked for Oracle, for Semantics, so different IT vendors in the past, and now I'm into data and analytics. It's really cool to be here. It's also good to meet you all and see that energy, especially from our host. Really appreciate that. It's always good to hear what kind of a good project we have, and feel really energized now to talk, especially listen to you guys more than. Yeah, so really happy to be here. Did I forget anything? If you want to ask more or any discount requests, let me know.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind, Alex.
Yeah, then contact me directly.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Carolina is the first point of contact, but at some point it will end up also with me. So yeah.
Pleasure meeting you, Alex. Pleasure meeting you. Anybody else up for a quick
I
introduction?
can go next. So my name is Stian Scotland. I work as head of data analytics in Power International, the consumer electronics retailer. Working here for 2 years. Prior to that, I worked in Coca-Cola and been working with Alteryx now for around 7 years.
Sweet. I didn't know they used Alteryx at Coca-Cola. That's interesting.
Well, it's a really, really large customers.
All right, a couple more guys that we haven't heard from. If you want to do it, feel free. But if not, then it's also completely fine. Hopefully, it'll be a lot of recurring faces. Rune, perfect. We can't hear you. Yes, the good old. There you go.
Good old trick.
Yes,
Yeah, it's better now.
it's better.
It is.
Perfect.
Yes, my name is Rune Palm, and I'm in the Gladsaxe municipality. It's located in the Copenhagen area, and we have been working with Alteryx for almost 6 years, and I think we have pretty much the same use cases as you've described because we use Tableau as well. So we use Alteryx a lot for a lot of different data sources, and it's basically our whole ETL process that's based on Alteryx. Yeah, we really like it.
Yeah.
so I also my role, apart from being an analyst, I have a responsibility for our server. So I have a lot of issues related to governance.
Have you ever written to the Inviso support back in the days?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
your
Yeah,
name seems familiar. I might have helped you back in the day.
And we still use it, not so much. But,
Okay.
But it happens that we reach out to get a little support. So
Okay.
yeah.
Your name just seemed familiar. I believe that I might have helped you. Hopefully,
Yeah,
helped you.
you
back
might
in-
have.
back in the
Yeah,
day.
you might have. Yeah.
And then Thomas, you want to take us away? Round it off?
Yeah, I can jump in as well. My name is Thomas Nielsen. I also based in Copenhagen. Today I'm actually working for a company called Drive, but that's fairly recent. I used to be a consultant in NTT data, and from there I actually had like 6 or 7 years experience in Alteryx, but they gave me an offer to get more hands on Alteryx, so that's why I just switched here from the 1st of September to Drive. And let me just give a big shout out to the user group leaders. I think it's great that you have started up this Nordic user group. We used to have a Copenhagen-based user group that I ran together with Daniel from Inviso, but then Corona happened and job changes happened, and then the user group died. So I think it's great that we are now having a new Nordic community where we can discuss Alteryx. I'm grateful for that.
Sounds good. We'll at least do our very best to make it as interactive and as fun as possible.
For sure, yeah.
To fill out the boots or the shoes of you guys.
Yeah. Have we been through everyone now?
Yes.
I think one last thing that I was wondering, if we could just do a really quick roundtable based on institution, how many Alteryx users you have at your site. And I'll start here at NKT Photonics. We're about 3 to 4 people, I would say. That's our Alteryx user base.
And a server license.
And one server license, yeah.
I can continue. We have, unfortunately, not a server license. It's too expensive. We have 2 licenses, but the other one is not used very much, and I'm using it all the time. So we have like 1.1 license. We would very much like to have the server license, but it's an expensive one. I could just continue a little bit more, even though it was supposed just to be short. And the reason is that all the other ones in my department, data engineers, they work in Python. So the sort of idea is that I make prototypes and then they translate it into Python. Python because it's free or cheap, but it's very much a shame that Alteryx is so sort of expensive that this is what happens instead of we could continue having it in Alteryx. So what happens is less Alteryx instead of more Alteryx. I would love that it was the other way around, but
couldn't
it's not
agree
the
more.
case.
You do know you can do Python in Alteryx as well, right?
Yes, I know, but you need the license. Alteryx license, and the Alteryx license is expensive, so that's why we have this set up.
Anyone else want to reveal their numbers? How many people use Alteryx?
I think for our end, we are like have 5 licenses right now, but we're and 1 server license, and hopefully by the end of the year we'll have around 10 licenses. So we're kind of ramping up the investment in Alteryx licenses.
Yeah, that's a good group.
How many do you have right now?
I think we're at 5 now.
5.
We have,
anyone else?
Yes, we have 14, 15, because we also have the server. And I will say that 10, 11 of them is in use very much. And we're working on getting the last 3 or 4 people who have a license to use it a lot more, because as you said, it is quite expensive. I don't know if you call it expensive. I remember that Daniel, that you were referring to, Thomas, he told me that it's only expensive if you have a very low salary.
Yeah,
everything is relative.
and that's kind of true, because it is tremendous how much time you can save with Alteryx. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I can elaborate a little bit about how Alteryx is used at Drive, and that is foremost for automation purposes. We have tons of workflows running in various list runners, and all that is automated on the Alteryx server. So right now, I would guess that we are like 3 or 4 people actually using Alteryx, but not Alteryx on, for me, yes, on a daily basis, but others just to maintain some of these already established workflows. Everything else is automated through the server. And yes, it's pricey, but on the other hand, if you probably would do all these processes manually by moving spreadsheets around, then it's, as you said, it only works if you have low salary for that case.
True, very true.
And what I heard is that we just have to talk to you, Alex, and we'll get a discount.
Of course, yeah, I'm listening in because maybe we can find something suitable for you. Yeah, of course. It's I hear that quite often, that especially the users are so amazed by the product, but they struggle to somehow, or it seems like everyone told the same, struggle to somehow get a bigger footprint because decision makers feel like it's too expensive and so on. And I think the challenge that we have together, we can help you with a story to build, but we also need the input from you. And I think that could be one outcome of this like user group, to find out like what is like the potential that each of you has, like to build, to increase the footprint of Alteryx in your company, so that you're not the only user, but maybe though your whole department is using it, the whole organization. Yeah.
Cool. Right. Interesting. So it seems like a lot of the users here are actually, you know, based in teams that are very much using Alteryx, and some of them to, you know, more extent than others.
Yeah.
So we have a diversity, which is a good thing,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, and I think it's really, really interesting to hear, and also to spend some time on hearing each other's backgrounds and stories and situations. I hope we can, there's so much more to do along that. So actually, yeah, I hope we can do something like that next time as well.
Yes. I agree.
Because next time as well, there will be probably double as many people, I think.
Hopefully.
I know there are several people very close to here who is not present.
Yes.
And they easily could be.
Yeah.
We met them at the Devo Team event, so we just I'm gonna go and knock on their door now.
Yeah.
We have another event coming up, so maybe we should hijack some people for the user group there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be standing there with a hat on my head, and
you know, so some people there.
Sign me up. Sign me up. Did we hear from everyone now?
I believe we did.
Okay, well, let's move on then. So, as I stated before, we are in control of what goes on here. What is this user group being used for? Obviously, I have my own ideas. Johan has his own ideas, and we are sure that you also have ideas. There was even a talk of a user group in Copenhagen existing before, so there's been some precedent. So it could be interesting to have a little brewing of ideas of what this thing could be about. At the end of this slide presentation, at the end of the meeting, we're going to try and collect the ideas also. We're going to mention it again. But if you have anything that you could say now, we'd be really happy to hear it.
I would like if there was sort of a sort of fixed thing from Alteryx with some smart new ideas of solving different things, and maybe if we could in the meeting before write a wish list of different sort of aspects to for Alteryx to enlighten, and then they could maybe in 15 minutes say, well, not a deep dive, but just a short sort of, you could do this, you can do this, and so on.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. I can also throw in something that we discussed internally, which is also that it could be interesting to have like a forum post sort of with all the ideas that might pop into our head. It might be difficult from time to time to just on the spot bring out everything that you kind of want to talk about. If you have some issues, if you have, you know, new findings or anything, then it'd be nice to have a forum where we could just post ideas. And then some of them could be up for discussion and up for grabs whenever we meet. So we at least have a base. Yeah. That's one of the things that I maybe also would like. So we knowledge share not only in the quarterly meetings, but we do it more on on a regular basis when anything might pop up.
That's a good idea.
Any other ideas?
Yeah, Rune, you have one?
Yeah, I always find it interesting to see how other organizations benefit from Alteryx. So that could be specific use cases, but also maybe on a larger scale, how deployment, as we were talking before, we have how do we get the idea of what you can do with Alteryx out in your organization, especially if you have the server and all the opportunities that you can get from that. So use cases from others.
Yeah,
Agree. Anyone else before we proceed to actually some of the use cases that are being shown and
we have that, yeah.
and
We have
deployment
that,
as well. That's a great point, Rune.
Maybe I could add an idea of my own. I also like personally to hear about some of the problems, some of the challenges that you can experience trying to do some of the things within the organizational challenges, like cultural challenges, but also technical challenges. Like, am I the only one that experiences my designer crashing several times a week? Or suddenly that my designer is pausing for like 45 seconds for no reason? I mean, these little things like this, am I the only one experiencing that? Or do you guys also see that? Or just like some of the challenges. We all know everything is really, really great about Alteryx, but there are also some problems once in a while. And I think I'm probably not the only one. And talking about that is also really interesting for me.
Yeah. 30 minutes before the meeting, my Alteryx crashed. So
there you go. So at least the two of us now.
Yeah.
Yep, I tried it as well.
And if you do have issues with Alteryx, please reach out to us, and then we'll find a solution.
Yeah,
perfect.
Because if we don't know about it, we can't help you.
Obviously, yeah. That is true.
It's really important that you each knows the counterpart in our company. So I think most of you here belong to Carolina, right? So Stian, you will move from Jake to Carolina. The rest will also be handled by Carolina. I think you, Thomas, your account manager is Annie Santaniemi. She's not here, but it's also good maybe that you exchange in the future. Is it okay that she can reach out to you to also have some relationship with her together with Alteryx directly? Thomas from Drive.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
She will come to that.
Cool. And I think the rest is well covered by Carolina.
Cool.
I'm glad to hear that. You're certainly doing a great job already, Carolina. So I'll be happy to unload issues on you later.
Absolutely. And it's like, if I can't fix it, I have access to a lot of very competent technical people that can help me. So it's
perfect. So, but of course, this is a work in progress, this whole user group thing. So as we go along, we try to put an agenda together to the best of our abilities now. And we're taking in some ideas now, and we'll adjust it for the next meeting. And we'll just continue to let it evolve in whatever direction that we feel like. So unless there's more to the ideas section, I'll move on.
We'll have a chance later as well.
Yeah, we'll have a chance later. And obviously, things bubble up in our heads while we're having the afternoon tea or whatever, then we will collect them on an ongoing basis. Okay, and we also, Alteryx provides a little section for the user group meeting called the Alteryx Community Updates. So they give me a slide deck and they tell me, Michael, throw away what you want and keep what you want, and then we'll try and present a little bit of it here.
Yes.
Obviously, none of us are Alteryx people, so Johan has agreed to try and go through it very shortly.
Yes, and I hope that Carolina and Alex will wing it if I say something wrong, but let's give it a go. So the initial update for those of you who aren't updated to 2023.1, which I think most of you aren't, At least we're not. We are also always, you know, a couple of updates behind, so we ensure that we're not the first movers. You know, there could be potential problems or bugs, but what they're talking about is the unified Alteryx Analytics Cloud platform, which I don't know if any of you have heard about, and I think it is related to Trifactor as well. And please correct me if that is not correct. But I believe the idea is that you want to maybe in the future go away from the more local instance that you're working in with the desktop versions and all the YXDB files, and then converting everything into the cloud world, which is obviously a buzzword and has been for a certain amount of time. And as you can see on the right, you know, it's the managing of workflows, flexibility, API support, all these things, but it's also just to share things more easily. So those are some of the things coming with the newest update, at least in terms of the Alteryx cloud-friendly update. And then as we proceed, we also have a program which is the pilot program, and I would personally say that it's interesting, obviously, to sign up to test out some of these new features. Both Michael and I, we talked about it. Michael is very certain that he's gonna do it. I would love to, depending on if I have the time. But some of the features, obviously, it'd be difficult for me to talk about some of the features that would be able to try out, given that I am not from Alteryx. But you can see them on the left-hand side, dark mode phase 2, and you have Databricks, Unity catalog, all kinds of things. But at least you can scan the QR code. You're more than welcome to do now. I don't know if we send out the slide deck afterwards.
I'd love to the slide deck. I hope I can make the slide deck available in perpetuity on this user group website somehow. So I will be talking to Flavia about that.
Yes. All right. So this isn't the last chance you'll have to actually scan the QR code, which is a good thing. So think about it. And obviously, every time that we sign up for anything, we are having an ability to actually put our print on what we want to see in terms of Alteryx and bugs, etc.
I think I'm gonna go home and check the Databricks thing because I have a lot of customers asking for that.
Exactly.
I'm really excited about that thing.
Yeah. So Databricks is also one of the things that really caught my attention. And moving on, we have obviously, and a lot of you might know about it, at least if you started doing Alteryx in the last couple of years. I personally experienced the Academy being a good thing, especially when you want to onboard somebody as well. Then you have the Learning Marketplace, which is obviously done on a subscription basis, meaning that you probably reach out to, in this case, Carolina, and then in this case, you could maybe ask for a discount. Other than that, you have the Academy and then the certifications. And obviously it is different from person to person in terms of the certifications, but from my perspective, given that I'm also certified on the advanced level, I can at least recommend doing the core certification. That will teach you the basic, probably be the 15 most used tools, and then moving into the advanced will allow you to deep dive into more of the spatial tools, etc. So if you haven't done that, do it. It's free. I highly recommend it as well. Why not educate yourself, especially if you really enjoy Alteryx? And let's see what more we have.
I also want to jump in there shortly about the certifications. If any of you are going to Inspire, we still have some few spots left on the expert certification, because that one is done in person. And there's, I mean, Alteryx takes the bill during Inspire, so then you get to do it for free. So if any of you are already going to Inspire and then haven't said that, just let me know and I'll make sure to put you on that list.
One thing I will note on that is also, if you want to do the expert one, you prepare. I've heard about people doing it, and I know one didn't. I've totally forgot her name. The Caitlin. Colleen. Yeah, she did that, and she was brainy. So yeah, but That's true. That's true. So you can get it for free at the Inspire event. And then we have the alternation block to get notified with release with Mavericks monthly newsletters, etc. And then we also have the Alteryx user experience research panel. And I think this is a good thing to actually sign up for the research studies and interviews, testing of new ideas and products. If you really want to have a say in the direction that Alteryx will be moving. Obviously, if you do it all by yourself, it might be difficult to actually really have, you know, a weigh in. But given that we're a user group and we're a lot of people that can weigh in, if we devote ourselves to actually doing these kinds of things, it will help Alteryx as well as it will help us. So I think that's worth, you know, doing these kinds of things.
I'm definitely going to do this one here. This is really important to me.
Yeah, the same for me, especially since Alteryx is such a great tool, and let's not just, you know, take it as it is, but let's help them develop it into something better. Yeah. That was
okay, that was it for the community updates. And now on to myself. I'm presenter number 1. Let me just switch out of this presentation and into the other presentation that I prepared. And I think the topic was the Alteryx journey that NKT Photonics has been on. And let me just tell you what NKT Photonics is. It's the company where Johan and I work, first of all. It is a company that has a headquarters in Denmark. We are almost 500 people working here. We have sites in here close to Copenhagen. We have in Boston. We have in Zurich,
Southampton,
and Southampton in England.
China.
And no, not.
Shenzhen.
Sorry, where?
Shenzhen.
No, we used to have an office there. Not anymore. But we have sites several different places. And our revenue last year was 78 million euros. We're growing pretty well, actually, I would say. A bad year is 10% growth, and a good year is 25% of growth. And we're in the process, a very prolonged process of trying to switch owners from NKT, which is an old Danish conglomerate, to Hamamatsu, which is a Japanese company making light detectors. And since our company makes light emitters, it is a pretty good match to partner up with a very experienced company with a global presence. So we make light sources, we make lasers, and these lasers are being used in the medical and life sciences, industrial, quantum and nanotechnology, aerospace and defense, basically a lot of different areas that we can find ourselves in. This has, for me, been a good thing. Since 2017, I've experienced many global crises and the economy going up and down. So if one part of the economy is going down, then the government spending goes up. If government spending goes down, then the private spending goes up. So it's been a quite stable business. So we make white light lasers, precision lasers called single frequency lasers. We make ultra fast lasers, which are good for like working on materials, cutting in materials. And then we make specialty optical fibers, which is kind of like the semiconductor of light transmission. Enough about the company at a glance. One concept that we've been working on in the department that I am in is something we call the digital journey. So we operate with several different development stages that a company or an organization can be in. And we have 4 different levels. The first level, we call it level 0. When you're living there, you have a lot of raw data. You have it in many, many different locations. You need experts to get access to this data and to understand what the data even says. That's typically where people start out. And the next stage of development, there you have consolidated your data, you have curated it, cleaned it up, transformed it, and provided it for easy access to other people within your own organization. And then as you move up this development journey, the business impacts of what stage you're on increases. So you unlock a lot of value doing this as you increase your development. So the next stage here is descriptive analytics. You can start to use machine learning to try to look for patterns. And once you've reached the final level here, you can use a lot of different artificial intelligence. You can work with predictive analytics. You can start to fix problems before they even arise. You can have a self-correcting systems within your organization. And typically, the reason why we made it this explicit way here was that in the beginning, we were very focused on all these high-level goals. And we forgot that in order to achieve them, you have to go through these different stages. And they are non-trivial, and they take a long time. So I would say, as a company right now, we are going from 0 to 1. When Johan and I work with Alteryx, we are moving parts of the organization from 0 to 1. And we do this all the time. We don't really go further than that because we've chosen to work with the organization as a whole and not just take one little subset of the organization and develop them very, very far. That way we'll get disruption, and we don't want to have that. So this is basically the level that we are on, and the engine that we're using to move us along this development journey is Alteryx. The system architecture that we have in our company, we use Microsoft Dynamics 365 as our ERP system. We have a lot of production databases from the production of our laser devices and many, many hundreds of different data sources down here. These are accessed by Alteryx. We use version 2022.3, which is a couple of versions behind the latest because we are a little bit conservative and don't want to have too many bugs. We have also the Alteryx server currently with 2 cores so that we can automate and schedule workflows. And all this raw data we then transform, clean up, and curate with Alteryx, and the output is provided as tables on the SQL server, on a SQL server. And then on top of this, we build Power BI reports, which can then be seen by users within our company. In the future, we want to employ Snowflake before and after Alteryx, and we want also to use Streamlit to present data in addition to using Power BI.
And on top of the Snowflake, just to add on that, we'll also be implementing DBT to do some basic transformation of the data, which is also a hot tool.
Very, very true. So continue on the Alteryx journey. I googled the Gartner hype cycle curve.
Excuse me.
Which is,
Why do you use Snowflake and DB2, and is it because you can't use Alteryx for those parts?
No, not at all. It's a matter of using Alteryx for what Alteryx is good for. So right now we extract using OData feeds and API calls. We extract entities from D365, and it takes a lot of time. And what you can do is utilizing the Azure database that we're using, which is also in the Microsoft environment, and you can then create the blobs, which you can transfer to a Snowflake server. And from the Snowflake server, if you want to, in this instance, you'll have tables, but we want entities, and the entities are composed of different tables. So what we will do with the DBT or directly in the Snowflake interface is take some of these tables and joining them and connecting them in a way which will recreate the entities that we have. And what this will utilize is we'll have a lot more time freed up on the server. That's one thing. And the pace is completely different, given that the Azure database and the Microsoft D365 is actually talking together in a whole different way. So it's just to speed up the processes. So we can then focus on what Alteryx is good for, which is doing analysis on the data that we actually have instead of extracting data, which is doable, but isn't the most efficient way of using Alteryx. So that's the idea behind it.
Yep.
Then DBT is just, essentially you can compare it to Python SQL. It's a program which will allow you to do some coding and fact and dim tables on top of what you essentially have. And then it will execute faster if you do some smaller things or more, not less complex is maybe the word. Not that you can't do it, but so that's what we're going to do with it.
Yeah. I think one thing that we often experience is that we are working with a tool, a software platform that was given to us or that we got at some point in time, and then time progresses and we use it for many different tasks. And sometimes new tasks arrive, and because we are where we are and we are who we are and we're using the tools that we're using, we just automatically use the current tool for the new task. And after a while, you can go places where you can look up and say, well, why am I doing it this way? The only reason that you can explain it with is because, oh yeah, that's because I was an Alteryx user.
Yes.
That was the easiest thing for me to do. It's not necessarily the best tool for the task, but it's just your history leading you to this place. So once in a while, we get the opportunity to like look up and say, oh, well, maybe this is not the best way to do it. And we have a hunch that DBT could unload some Alteryx jobs for us, because we also experienced actually limitations in when we use Alteryx on the server and we schedule jobs and we have a lot of jobs that we want to run. We actually struggle with conflicts between these jobs. And of course, then we can just buy some more cores on the server to get more compute capacity. But that's very expensive to do. So if we can unload from this server, then we will be quite happy to try to do that.
Yes. Sometimes you need to disrupt processes in order to grow. You have something, Thomas? I can see you.
Yes. I'm curious to know where you actually have put your Alteryx server. Is that in the cloud as well? And are you looking into the cloud version of Alteryx to do some of this stuff? Because I would agree, if you use it for plain ETL, it's crazy to take cloud data down to your desktop and then push it back to the cloud through Alteryx.
But the last thing that you just mentioned, that is something that we're also moving away from. But didn't you assist in the implementation of the server back in the day?
No, mine was 1 year ahead of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so it's always been a little bit cryptic to me, but when you have an Alteryx server, it's like in reality, we have two servers. We have a remote desktop server, which is located at a data center in Frankfurt, which we can log on to, and there's a designer there, and we can run things on it. But then when you schedule things on the Alteryx server, which is apparently another thing, you do that via the Alteryx web interface for controlling the server. You can upload your workflows to this server, and you can schedule them for running. This is running on physical hardware owned and operated by Alteryx, as far as I know. This is where we pay for these cores. Correct me if I'm wrong, Carolina and Alexander. And where this machine is located, how it's operating and so on, I have no idea. But that's the real scheduling. Because initially I was saying, look, well, let's just beef up the machine that we have in Frankfurt. That's just one email away, then we beef it up. And then people told me, no, that's not how it works. You got to contact Alteryx and they will beef up their server. Wasn't that the server we had in Germany? No, it wasn't. So it's a little bit complicated. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Deep
Sorry,
confused silence.
I was on mute. I would suggest for next time we will include our technical resource as well to maybe give you more insights on those parts, because Carolina and me are not too much into those details. So I've already pinged that person to join the next user meeting, and maybe we can keep that question for next time. Or if it's very urgent, let us know and we can just immediately resolve it. Yeah. But we can't answer right now because we're not the technical persons.
Yeah, if you write it down in the chat, I can get back to you. But as Alex said, I'm not the most technical one at Alteryx.
It's not acute. It would be great to have it for the next meeting.
Yeah.
To understand that a little bit better.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was our system architecture, very, very schematically. Now, this famous graph called the Gartner Hype Cycle graph about how new technology is implemented and adopted. Something new arrives, the technology trigger, time progresses, and it suddenly pops up on everyone's radar. This could be ChatGPT, AI, chatbots coming. Everyone is talking about it. It's on every news channel and every newspaper around, and people are talking about it in the canteens. No one is really using it for much. And then after some time, people start getting disappointed and bored, and there's no real use for it. So the interest, the visibility plummets. And then you're down here. Now everyone is laughing about it, saying how stupid it was. but then instead of dying away, suddenly it starts growing up very slowly, and then the real value, the real productivity from this technology appears, unlike what you had in the first phase. And this was the illustration that I thought of when I wanted to illustrate the Alteryx journey that we had in our company. So if we do our company for this thing here, we introduced Alteryx in 2018. We had the CFO leading this effort, promoting it and supporting it. So we had the management buy-in. We had a lot of money allocated for this. So we had the Devo team helping us, lots of Devo team people coming in, lots of excitement building up, and we got a lot of use cases implemented really, really fast using the external consultants. Maybe also too fast, because suddenly we had like a lot of use cases running, which no one in the company really had made. So when things stopped working, we suddenly said, well, wait a minute, who made this? And maybe even the people at Inviso/Devo team have moved on. So we suddenly had a very large base of workflows and use cases running, more than we could actually manage. So we experienced problems with scaling this thing up. We experienced problems with the stability of the data services that we tried to provide, and had some issues with this. And this was maybe 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, just about the time that Johan started, actually. And then Johan has been working a lot very hard on many things, but one of the things that he's been working on is to clean things up, review some of the use cases that we've been working on, review the workflows, taking them over, understanding what's going on, harmonizing things. We also understood gradually that we had serious problems with some of the IT infrastructure in our company. We were using SQL servers instead of services like AWS and Snowflake. So now we're trying to improve the infrastructure of our company. So this is where we are right now. So things are going better. We've increased the stability, and we can see a way towards scaling this thing up that was more clear than before. And the plateau, are more like, call it optimal usage. It's not really the best, most inspiring word, but it's like one example of it is what Johan was touching upon by taking some of the things that we currently transforming a lot of raw data from our ERP system using Alteryx. Maybe that's not the right tool. Maybe a dbt tool operating under the umbrella of Snowflake is better, because there you have scalable compute to a much higher degree than you have with Alteryx. So that could be a smarter way of doing things. So we feel like we're very committed to Alteryx still, but we're climbing up this curve, and then we're finding the real value after the initial hype cycle. And yeah, this is just basically an summarization of where we are. So right now we have 775 scheduled workflows. I just made a little overview earlier today, running every single day. 150 Power BI reports and 300 daily users out of the 450 employees of the company. So it's quite a wide footprint that we have. Any questions to that? Okay, then I'll move on, and we'll move back to this thing here. And now we have arrived at presenter number 2, yeah. Jos, take it away.
Jos, I want to jump in there because we got Sarah, my SC managed to jump in spontaneously. So if you want to take a question live, now's the chance.
Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Please feel free to ask if you have any question. I will be happy to help.
Was this a question that Jos had talked about?
No, that was the question regarding the Alteryx server, where it was located and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. So it was actually my discussion there. Well, yeah. Well, I was talking about how I found it difficult to understand the setup of these Alteryx servers. In our company, we say that we have a remote desktop connection to a machine, which I know is located in Frankfurt, which has Designer on it. I can interact with it. It's not my own machine. It's the server. But then you also have this web interface called the server that Alteryx hosts, and you can upload workflows to this, and you can have them scheduled running there. But that's not the same machine as we have in Frankfurt. This is actually a machine owned and operated by Alteryx, and this is where we pay the money, and we can buy a different number of cores. Can you explain a little bit how this works, and if I describe this incorrectly?
So yeah, of course. Here we are talking about the on-prem server product, right? Because it's different
Not
than
on-prem for us. It's not our prem.
I think it is your prem. The answer would be.
So there's a physical machine here with 2 cores.
Yeah.
Alteryx in our building.
There's a physical machine with 2 cores in your building with Alteryx.
What? That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, because I think the alternative would be that you were running the Alteryx cloud product, which you are not.
Yeah.
Like that's the two. You can't. I correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think you can run an Alteryx server hosted by Alteryx. Essentially, there's no. It's a SaaS version of Alteryx. Is that?
So for the server on-prem products, you need to have a local machine hosted in your own environment. And once it's established, you will activate the license based on this local machine that you host completely. It's different than the cloud product.
And I think if you want to then upgrade with more cores, it's essentially just Alteryx.
Exactly.
Adding more, like they're not doing anything physical, but they are checking off some box somewhere, and then it has more cores.
Exactly. We provide you with the right license, with the right number of cores, and you can upgrade, like add as many cores as you want. And of course, depending on some technical considerations and depending on your architecture.
Yeah, so I would presume like so NKT Photonics, we have a machine standing in our basement, which is the Alteryx server, and this machine intrinsically maybe has 8 cores.
Yeah. But
right now we can only operate on 2 of them because we only paid for 2.
Yeah.
And I can't buy more than 8 because there's only 8 cores in the machine.
That would make sense. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I'm gonna find that machine. I want to see it.
I want to see that machine as well. Especially because
if you want, you can activate more than 8 cores, of course. On your, if you have like more cores in your physical machine, we can provide you more cores. Yeah, of course.
Yes. Yeah,
for free.
Oh, if you have a sandbox, we can talk about that.
But I think that's the one that we have, the remote. That is probably the.
Yeah, that is the okay. Yeah,
right.
That makes sense.
We'll figure that out.
Interesting. For explaining that, Sarah. That was really informative.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
So on to yours.
Yes, thank you.
Take it away, yours.
I will. I'll just give a short intro to Pigwind. I should, of course, have sort of given a nice presentation, but I did not. Pigwind, you could say it's a spin-off from Ørsted. There was 3 guys starting it for 6 years ago. And it's been growing quite a lot since. Now we are close to 250 people. So we are within the green energy, not only wind, but also into solar, bio, and whatever happens into green energy. I started in Pigwind, as I said, 3.5 years ago. We have now offices in South Korea, Taiwan, Hamburg, Zaragoza, Spain, US, Denmark, Copenhagen, and office, and Aarhus, and I'm located in Aarhus. I'm sitting in data and intelligence. What we do is we generate knowledge from the different assets. So, and within the wind assets, we have very, very many data from the different turbines coming in. And that's my sort of specialty, making solutions from the different assets we have there. So our backend guys, being data engineers, they access the different sources to get the different data from the various, it could be from a substation, it could be from the individual turbines, and then they put them up into Azure. So most of the data I access, they are in an SQL Azure database, but a lot of the data, they are also in Excels and all other kind of sources. In the long run, everything we need up into the database, but as we are growing, then each of the assets are slowly getting more and more matured, but it takes time to sort of get them all up. That means as well the programming need to change over time as we sort of get new sources, and as the sort of demands to what different outputs need to be done expands. That means if we start, for instance, a wind asset, it could start out with quite a simple model where you have, and the key in these models, they are identifying when there's a loss production and how to estimate it. And usually there's a lot of different ways of estimating it. So you need to go into the contract and see what's in the contract. So what does the manufacturer do, and what gives a sort of the best, most true picture, and where do we have a difference? Which these things can be used in the argumentation versus the manufacturer, whether we should have more or less money back. Talking about a use case, I had some different ideas, but what I selected of a use case is how do I sort of get an overview of the different models to see what is it. So I'll just share my screen here. Okay, okay. So what I want to show is how do I sort of get an overview of a program. What I do is I put the different things into containers, and then I color them. Color them by giving them, telling where they are coming from. It might be a bit stupid, and if you have any sort of better ideas in my coloring, but I'm using sort of like if it's coming from a base source, it's more like the brown colors. It's coming from the earth. Then the green stream here, it's sort of the main data set, which I sort of put additional data set to. So if it's a brown thing, it's an original data source. If it's a blue one, it's usually an output from another Alteryx program or another process which need something to be done first. So that means I can first execute this program when the blue program, blue parts here have been updated. And then if it's a gray, then it's like a metadata, a budget, or other things. So the orange parts, it's additions where I have something where I enhance knowledge. It could be making new additional ways of estimating the loss production. Usually there's a setup where I have maybe 5, 6, 7 different ways of estimating it, the loss production, and then ranking them. So if I have the best solution, I will use that. But if it's not available, then it goes down to the next, and so on and so on, so on. And they're usually all used, because some of them are also used when there's a missing data. Then we have a set of rules. If there's missing data, then we take from an external source, wind speed, and then estimate it from that. So that means in the whole period, we can always have an estimation. Anyway, you can see here where the different orange boxes they add to it. And then we get to the yellow part. It's the outputs. So you could say it's like from the earth, it's getting more and more green up to the top of the tree, and then the orange part could be flowers, and then we get up to the sun. And the blue sky, it could also be up here if I deliver it to another Alteryx program. There could be a blue spot here. So this is my sort of input to a possible use case. And I would very much like to hear your opinion and also what you do in order to sort of get an overview. If I then have some new things I'm working on, it could be I put them as red or purple or so on. So
Which version are you using of Alteryx?
I have no idea.
Try the help button.
That's at least an honest answer.
And then about third one from the bottom.
About
Yes. All right, so you have the newest one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
also
newer than ours even. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the newest one.
Yeah.
All right, interesting.
Interesting. I like the way that you document things and have a system in the documentation. I was really bad at that in the beginning too, but I think it's really important to have to spend time documenting your things. Do you use like you can also like write text underneath the tools? Do you do that as well? I see quite a lot of texts once in a while.
Each of the boxes they have a name on.
Yeah.
So here it could say here power curve empiric. This is what happens in this one.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, it's so complicated, but then I tell them, well, let's go down and see what happens. And you know, each box, if you just go in, you can explain it, and it's so simple. Every little block is so simple, but the big picture is where it gets more complicated.
I have one question more. You talked about models. Do you use the predictive tools, the predictive palette on Alteryx, or how do you do the modeling?
No. What I do is I sort of make my sort of own models where I go in and say, well, it could be some of these boxes here where you can say, what is a model? A model could be a way of estimating the loss production. Loss production is something intangible. It's something that different people or different companies can do in different ways. What's very important is then knowing what the different does. And so I need to know what the manufacturer does so I can replicate their estimation. And then I need to make a model of how I think it's giving a more true picture. And then if there's a big discrepancy between the two, I can raise it as a flag. Look, here you are estimating it too low or too high. And then understanding why it is as it is. And that this is also in order to see when you have discussions with the manufacturer is the ones sort of providing the turbine, giving the wanted level. If there's some discussions about the cost, it shouldn't be about which methods are used, but about the sort of individual outage. So I both need to replicate what others do, and then I need to make my own model.
I remember when we started with Alteryx, one of the arguments from management was that Alteryx was much more self-documenting than a lot of line code programming languages. And of course, you can always argue how true is that, but it certainly is more easy to get an overview of what's going on, right, from looking at the screen.
Yeah, and if I should write this program in a sort of writing, it would be very, very long. I would write my programming as I do, as everybody else. We have our own ways of working, and it would be very, very difficult to overview what happens and so on. Here, it gives a sort of a good sort of way. I can say, well, here we do this. Should we jump into this? Or here I do this. Should we jump into this? And as well, once it's executing, I can see how it progress, and I can see where it goes down if there's any errors in it.
Rune has a question as well.
Yep.
I see you got your hand raised.
Yeah.
Please.
I really like the way you use the colors. I always find it interesting to see how other people document in Alteryx, because, as you said, originally it was told that it was self-documentation, but we all experience that you need to do a little effort to make it usable for others. But I think a workflow of this size is maybe it's a little too complex. I myself prefer to have some separate workflows and connecting them through a runner. And then we also have data lineage tools that can visualize how the different workflows and their outputs are used as inputs in other workflows and so on. So you can have this visualization in a data lineage tool. I really like this with the colors, but it's more like if something is a little vulnerable, if something
Rune,
breaks.
Can I ask you, Rune, is that Alteryx Connect, or is it a different lineage tool that you use?
It's something we have developed ourselves. It's Python based, and so yeah, we extract all from the server. We extract all the workflows and open the XML files and look in them, and have sort of connected in that way.
I don't even know what a lineage tool is, but you know, there's a lot of different ways of also illustrating this, and we all have this problem. We only have these 24 hours a day, or 8-9 work hours. It would be so good if we knew more tools to do the same.
Completely agree. I think the use case that you're talking about, Rune, I actually think I talked to somebody from your team about it at one point. That could be an interesting thing to show, because the lineage thing is one of the things that I also believe that Alteryx is really missing. That is something you also have in DBT, for example, and other coding tools.
I would like to see it as well, because it's something new for me.
We're putting it on the spot.
We call it Cotton Eye Joe, because the question is, where did you come from? Where did you go? And that's what we want to know.
That's a nice one.
We're putting you on the spot.
So instead of calling it data lineage and all those fancies, it's just Cotton Eye Joe.
That's a nice one.
Yeah. If you want to show that for the next time, that'd be so great. I mean, you don't have to. It's totally your decision, but
I'm sure we will. I will. One of my colleagues who developed it, he would have loved to participate today, but unfortunately couldn't. But I'm sure that if we know the next day a little in advance, we can plan it, and he can give a brief presentation. Not only, of course, I can present the tools, but I think if there's some questions on how it done, what kind of Python tools he used.
Yeah,
I think
that'd be interesting. That'd really be interesting. And we already have the new dates set, so you'll see that in the end of the meeting.
Yeah,
Michael, we prepared for late 2024.
Yeah. I'm looking forward.
Yep.
I can say one comment. I agree to what Rune said about the fact that this is a very large workflow, zoomed a lot out right here. And of course, the list runner enables you to chop things up and have intermediate steps. The problem with that is that you can't zoom out and see like the whole picture. You can't see the whole tree here. So this is actually a quite nice feature of having everything connected. So there are pros and cons to each. Yeah. Joost, do you use list runners?
No. Okay. And note the name step 3.
Yes.
There's 2 initial steps.
Okay. Yeah.
Just as big.
Yeah.
We could next time also put a spotlight on some of the macros, especially the crew macros, which are the ones in containing list runners and not running totals, but list runners and multiple other macros as well that are very useful, especially when you want to create something like this.
Yeah,
that could be.
yeah, that's an interesting point.
We could do that.
Very good.
Spotlight.
Yes, definitely.
Cool.
I'm not at all using macros, so I'm sure there's a lot in macros which could improve things like this.
Yes. We could do like so we have something from Rune and your team, and then we can do some simple crew spotlights and use cases for that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But we can always discuss that.
Okay, shall we jump back to the main presentation again? Is this everything, yours?
Thank you for the use case.
That's all.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Welcome.
It was awesome.
Thank you.
Let me just share my screen here. There we go. Now let's see where we were. We came actually to the next steps here. So first of all, I really recommend you to join up on the Alteryx community user group page. I think we have like an unofficial user group page.
Yes.
And there we can have the latest updates noted. I will make sure to keep that running. And then I thought it's prudent of us to look ahead for the next meetings. So since it's Wednesday today and it's in the middle of the month, I just added 3 months and then I just went along.
Yeah.
So we came to Wednesday, December the 13th. That's the next time. And all these are just my suggestions. If you can already say this is a huge problem, then we can talk about it now.
I think it's good.
Otherwise, the good thing about doing things far out in the calendar is that everyone's calendar is empty. So it's
exactly.
perfect.
So there's no reason why not to come.
So put this into your calendars already, and then information will come as we get closer.
Yes.
I will make a recap of this meeting and put it on the user group page as well. And Johan was already fishing for volunteers for the presentation, more or less aggressively here. So if we could already have 2 presentations on the scale of what we've seen today, about 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes is perfect. If you could have that already wrapped up while we're online here, then I would be cheering and dancing.
You and I want to do it. So I'll do some basic crew macros and those things, and then great, perfect. Remember, this is not set in stone. So if something comes up and anything you want to change it, that's completely fine. But for now, let's go with you and I.
Yeah, we would love to.
Perfect.
Cool.
Perfect. That's great. Well, I'm cheering.
Perfect. That's so great.
Is there anything that you want to hear maybe from Alteryx? I know it's a user group based one, but like in general, is there some area that you haven't discovered yet? Something like, what do we even do with Intelligence Suite? What can we do with machine learning? Something like this, maybe. We have Sarah here, who's an expert on those topics, just as an option.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a question regarding the different, some of the different sort of things you can select. They're sort of closed. Is it because you need an extra advanced license or something like that? You mentioned machine learning. There's sort of a lock on those.
If it is machine learning or computer vision that you can see in Designer, but they look blocked, then they're part of Intelligence Suite. So it's a separate module to unlock it.
Okay.
But it would be interesting to actually, since we already did the introduction, and that obviously takes some time, and we spent some minutes on that. It could be interesting to have like a tech spotlight, you could call it.
Alteryx rep.
Yeah, exactly. Where you guys talk about something that is, now the Intelligence Suite is extremely specific. Not everybody has it, but it could be anything essentially. So we could come up with something that be relevant, obviously a month in advance or something. So you, Sarah, would have a chance now. I have an idea that you'll be the one joining the next meeting as well. I have no idea. It could be anything, or anyone.
Yeah.
But it would be great to have the same representative, continuing. So it's like this user group, and then it'll just keep on growing. I think that'd be relevant to have a spotlight. I think that's a good idea, Alexander.
I think
Yeah,
I'll
cool.
try and take it upon myself to in the coming days and week, I'll try to collect some ideas from us, make a few propositions, and then see what people basically vote for.
Yes.
Do you want to hear about Intelligence Suite? Do you want to hear about something else? And then the things that gets the most votes, I'm gonna go to Carolina and ask, can we get someone to talk about this?
Yes.
So keep it a little bit open at this time and try and fish a little bit around for the participants. What do we want to hear about?
Sounds good. I like the idea.
And talking about fishing and communicating,
Yeah.
I tried to communicate with you guys a little bit through this fantastic Mavericks interface that's on the web, and it was absolutely hell. I could not send a message like to all participants. It says, no, you're not allowed to do that. And then I tried to send the email messages individually. And then after 6 times, it says, you reached your limit. You cannot send any more messages.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe if we could just collect our emails in the chat, if you're willing to do that, then we can communicate by email. Of course, it's a little bit excluding new people.
Yeah.
But on this website, it's really impossible to see who the user is, where they come from. It's just some strange username.
Yeah.
So I suggest we take it into our own hands and then communicate in our own group.
Yes.
By email.
Especially if you also have questions for each other. I hope you guys will communicate among yourself as well, sharing ideas. If somebody has anything, could be from the next meeting that you're interested in something extensive on either something you show, Rune, or I show, and feel free to reach out. I mean, we're here to help each other, right?
Yeah. So if you could please write your email on the chat for this meeting here, then I'd be very grateful. Sorry, let's see what else. We're really running short on the time here, and we got, I think the only thing really remaining besides the question and answer session is the survey. So if you could, within a short time, if not very soon, right now, do this little survey. I'll also put a link to it on the group chat. Then you have a chance to do it while it's in your fresh memory. Let me just find the chat button here. The chat is there. I'm gonna put it right here. Boom, there you go. So that's the survey. We're data-driven people, so we get some feedback in terms of data on how you like this arrangement. I'd be very grateful for that. And in return, I'm going to provide a nice recap of the meeting for you to look at.
Cool.
Any more remarks?
Sounds great.
I liked it a lot. I liked the energy. It was really good, like from the pacing and everything. So it was really like good to see so much good use cases and so much positivity towards the product. For me, it was really, really good.
Great.
That's great to hear.
That's great to hear.
Perfect. Okay, well, I think there's nothing else to say until next time.
No, this was the pilot.
And you'll be hearing from us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
And as Alex mentioned, if you have any questions, discounts, anything else that you're wondering about some products or at the different events, you know who to reach out to.
Perfect, Carolina.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Sounds great.
Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you,
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care.